What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps, episode 240. We are booking, man. I gotta say, podcasting is not the easiest thing to do because you have to be consistent. You gotta be willing to get up, put the time in, put the energy in. And I just want to say thank you guys for always tuning in. I appreciate that. Obviously, the viewership is starting to go up in the numbers, and I can't do that without you guys. So thanks for tuning in, and I'm hoping that we're giving you some very insightful information when it comes to betting or when it comes to just looking forward to fights and things like that. That's pretty much the main premise of why I even started to do this, because I just enjoy fighting and I enjoy the sport, and I felt like there wasn't enough guys around the game who have been in the sport and could give back the knowledge and articulate it in a way that's understandable to the viewers out there. Because obviously not everyone at home is going to be a practitioner of the sport. So it's cool to understand what you're watching and to see some of the details and some of the things that we, myself, and some of these other guys who are podcasting as well and discussing fights, breaking them down, analyzing fights. Another good guy, obviously I got to give credit where his due is, Henry Cejudo. He does a great job of analyzing and breaking down fights, especially with this whole chart thing that he's doing. I wanted to do that, but now that he's already done it, I don't even want to go that direction because then it's going to look like we're doing the exact same thing. So this is my lane. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the content. And of course, I know you guys are excited for UFC 292 coming up in just less than 5 short weeks. Game on. Sean O'Malley is finally going to step up to challenge for UFC Gold. And we're only going to see what's really going to happen on the night. So make sure you guys tune in. It's going to be a great fight. Cannot wait. Other than that, let's get into this. Obviously, podcast powered by Nerd Focus. Make sure you guys go check them out. I am an equitable partner with the company. Guys, I would not push something on you that I did not trust and believe in. Try it out. Amazon.com. Go to nerdfocus.com. See what stores near you may have it. And if not, like I said, go to Amazon.com. Easy way to get it. I'll make sure we put the link in the bio. I don't think I updated it. I know I kept saying that, but I didn't update it. I'm going to make sure I do that this time. Easy pickings, guys. My favorite is obviously the blue version, low calories, especially when I'm cutting weight. This is more like a Vitargo kind of comparison. You get all the nootropic benefits, but you get the calories that you can also get with the caffeine. So if you want something a little bit better, cleaner for you, guys, Nerd Focus is your drink of choice. Try them out. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. So let's get into it. Holly Holm versus Bueno Silva. Great fight. I know I broke this down and guys were kind of giving me a little bit of heat saying like, oh, Holly Holm's tested and all this. Yeah, guys, all that matters, but you got to also look at the past few fights. Sometimes we have a bad day in the office, but I just felt like consistently Holly's been kind of barely getting by these fights. And there's a difference with like barely getting by fights where they're very competitive on both ends, right? But then there's also getting by the fights where it just doesn't look that great in terms of the performance overall. I can understand when there's some pushback. And again, I like Holly. She's been very cool with me every time I see her. This is why I don't bet on fights, because I like almost all these people that I meet, and they end up being great people. And then for me to go out there and bet against them, it just seems weird. You see what I'm saying? Obviously, I could be making a ton of money by betting on fights, but I like to give you guys the odds. I just give you my insight. Take with that information and do what you please. Hopefully, you make it rain and double up those checks, right? Bueno Silva, yeah, Holly came out really good. She does the same combination over and over where it's kind of like this left cross, right uppercut, left cross, right uppercut, and sometimes ending it with the left cross, and then she gets out of there. Great footwork. Some of those things she's going to always be very good at, skilled at, and she's going to be able to do it like this, like clockwork. But you got someone like Bueno Silva, she gets the fight to the ground one time, and that's all she really needs, and it could be trouble, especially for someone who was the champion and also dominated her fight in her first defense, but lost in the 11th hour via rear naked choke to Miesha Tate. And I just feel like if there is a deficiency, it seems like the grappling defense. And obviously, that ninja choke was tight. That's as tight as it's going to get. In terms of trying to get out, there's not many escapes. You can roll all you want. You can still hit that choke upside down on your back when the person gator rolls and tries to get out. As long as you keep that bite on, you can still cinch it in and get the finish. Bueno Silva was able to get it. Holly tried every which way to get out, and she could not get out. That thing was airtight. And that was game blouses, man. She was able to put the finishing touches on, and Holly tapped. I'm excited for Bueno Silva. Congratulations to her because the sky's the limit at this point. I think now you have yourself a true contender. Defeating a former champion like Holm is no easy task. Again, she's beaten a lot of people recently, but they've been close margins. But now you got someone who went out there and finished Holly. So it says a lot about where Silva is in terms of her mindset, her durability, because she took a lot of early shots. I think there was even a head kick that might have grazed her early in that first round, if I'm not mistaken. And she showed a lot of promise. So, guys, I'm very high on Bueno Silva because, for me, I love jiu-jitsu. I love grappling. And I think everyone could throw a punch. Everyone could throw a kick. Obviously, there's things about timing, rhythm, the feel, the feet, the foot placements, and things like that. But when it comes to grappling, that's like if you can get the person down or you're in the clinch, that's an art in its own. And it's separate from the striking where it might be even or you could be getting punched and you could have the durable chin and stake in the fight long enough where if you can even have them slip on a banana peel, you could take them down and potentially get the finish of the fight. So with that being said, congrats to Bueno Silva. I thought that was a phenomenal job. And I look forward to seeing what's going to happen for her next. Obviously, Holly, I don't know what she does from here. I think it's it really depends on her. I think she's 41 years old, former champion at this point. She's got a ton of wins. I would like to see her go out on top. And I'm not saying she should retire. I just think she's going to need to figure out where does she go from here and kind of have to, I guess, kind of be real with yourself and what you're looking to achieve and accomplish. So I'm looking forward to seeing what steps she takes next in her career. I'm always going to be a Holly Holm fan, and I appreciate everything she has done thus far for the sport. Jack Maddalena, that was a really, really crazy fight. My bad. Jack Maddalena, JDM, taking on Basil Hafez, who also fought for Cage Fury. And I'm not going to lie, when I heard the name of him getting the call up for short notice, I was a little confused. Because the last time I remember watching him fight, he fought for Cage Fury. Let me see. I'm looking at his record now. Fury FC. He lost a split decision to Evan Cutts. CFC, he won by triangle choke. Maybe it was this one. I feel like there was a fight that he lost at Cage Fury where I was just kind of like underwhelmed, where I just didn't know what to think. I thought he had got knocked out, but I'm looking at his record. No, he did not get knocked out. I think it was just decision from what I'm seeing on Topology. There was a draw to Jeremiah Wells. Richard Williams, it was a split. And he lost to our guy, Jason Round, a grappling match. And Evan Cutts by split decision. I can tell you one thing. This guy is promising. To come out there and do that to JDM on short notice, I think it was like 3 or 4 days. Regardless, 3 or 4, it doesn't matter. Did not have a full camp. One of the hardest hitters in this division at 170. Probably is a scare for most of those guys in the sense of, I'm not taking that fight on short notice. But this guy steps up to the plate. He gives him everything that he could and loses by split decision in a way where there's still people thinking, and I watched that fight over again today, and you can make the argument that he won the fight. At worst case, it's a draw. If that second round is a 10-10, the fight's a draw. Round 1, Hafez. Round 3, JDM. Round 2, even as it gets. You could say like he had the bigger moments, okay, but earlier in that fight, in that second round, he landed more strikes. It wasn't all chained together like it was when he started to tee off on the body. Okay, cool. That looked great. It looked impressive. Guys, but it's strike count, right? How many times did I hit you versus how many times did you hit me in this round? And then the control time. Yeah, he didn't do any damage with the takedown, but he had a guy on his back for about 1:53 seconds, 1:52 seconds, give or take. There's a really good argument to be made there if he won that round, or if you don't think the control time because he did no damage, and that's fair, then you give it a draw. Because 2 minutes of control time, almost 2 minutes of control time, that's a pretty significant amount of the round where he also outstruck him in the first minute, but then he got teed up to the body a little bit when he started to fade. But it's a short notice fight. I'm not saying you should get credit and brownie points because it was a short notice fight. I'm just saying I think you have to consider that and not look at the aesthetics of, oh, he looks winded, he's falling over, he's stumbling across the cage. Yeah, that's footwork and everything, but what is this, a pretty contest, or are we scoring the strikes being landed? That's my main thing. And if we're going by the strikes landed, that second round was very, very tight, and then you got the almost 2 minutes of control time. So what do you score more? That's a tough one, man. It really is. And when I look at it like that, again, I see why it was a split. I thought the right guy won, so let me be clear with that. I thought the right guy won. I thought JDM, because it's a fight, we scored the strikes, right? But also the second round had me trippy. I was like, when I went back and I watched it, I was like, dude, I could see why this round should be a 10-10. But in the real time, I was like, well, he had the better shots to the body, even though I thought he got outstruck early in the round, but he came back and made up for it with those big shots to the body and some clean to the top, up top. And I was like, okay, I think maybe JDM won this round. And then he gets taken down for almost 2 minutes, going for a guillotine 4 times. I think when JDM watches his fight back and realizes he went for the guillotine 4 different times, 4. And to lose that position 4 different times, I understand sometimes you're in the moment, you're like, yeah, I feel it. It feels good. This is it. I'm putting this guy to sleep. I'm going to make him tap. But then you don't. And then you're stuck on your back 4 times. And we're sitting there watching like, bro, you are giving this fight away and keeping a guy on short notice who's a strong grappler in the fight, who is clearly gassing out. Smart tactics from Hafez, capitalizing when he needed to. And again, great job from JDM. Short notice fight for him as well, but he has the gas tank for a guy who just stepped up to compete with him. Yeah, completely different style, but let's call it what it is. One guy had a full training camp, and then he also cut weight twice. So I got to be fair with that with JDM. What I'm saying is Hafez, I'm calling Basil. Basil made JDM look more human and more, I don't say beatable, but human. He's still a heavy hitter. I say there's a couple things. He doesn't move his head as well as I thought, but when he commits to those shots, and I think those are where he was able to connect those big bombs on Basil and was able to really hurt him and keep Basil on his toes and keep him circling on his bike and constantly looking for takedowns. Great fight, fun fight. The crowd was on their feet. Everyone was loving the theater of he's got a big moment, then he shoots in, he pulls for the guillotine, then he ends up on his back, and it's just like, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Great fight. Great fight. I'm looking forward to see what Basil can do with a full training camp, and that's going to tell us a lot about where he is currently in his MMA career. So we'll see what happens. Francisco Prado versus azaitar. 21 years old, from the Goat Shed. Shout out Goat Shed. Azim, really cool dude. These guys might seem like they're jokers on the internet, always having a good time, posting stuff that looks like, and I was, I'm going to say, I thought it was like a lot of clout chasing stuff, but it's guys just having a good time and enjoying the sport. This is what they do. They work hard. They want to enjoy the sport, have a few laughs, and enjoy it the way they want to enjoy it. Hey, who am I to say that's wrong? I thought they have a lot of promise. I went down there to go train when I was in Miami for the bachelor party from one of my best friends. And they got some talented guys down there, man. Those guys work hard. And there's something to be said about that. I think they got a really good thing going, especially with this kid Prado. Very promising. He's a little wild style, and you can see that. But he goes for it. And I think that's something that you have to pay attention to. Don't look at, he's throwing this and looks sloppy. Guys, he's going to get better with time. The more experience. It's almost like a Pokemon thing. You go out there in the field, you join a battle while you're going through the grass, trying to find a certain Pokemon. You go through these battles, you gain experience points, you level up. That's what he's going to do. He's going to keep leveling up, going for a spinning back elbow. Like DC was saying, risk takers, young, fearless, almost feeling invincible. That's everything that you want in a fighter. Francisco Prado, I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings in the future. And guys, I don't know what else I can say. The kid's fun to watch. I think he's going to be potentially, I don't say the next big thing. Let me not write his praises so high just yet. I think that was his UFC debut, and that's quite the debut. A first round finish like that. I think that's super, super impressive. He lost to Jamie Malarkey in his UFC debut. And so, yeah, he's only have one loss by decision. Came back, bounced back. So he's now 1-1 in his career. And what a big way to come back and beat a guy like Ottman, who's had a couple of fights now in the UFC. And I think that says a lot for the young goat shed prospect. Definitely looking forward to watching him again. Again, we were watching this fight, and he kept feigning and showing that he was like attacking the leg. He spun a couple of times, failed a little bit, but each time he got a little bit closer, the last one that connected, I thought it was a good stoppage. The only thing I don't like about the stoppage, he almost waited for Prado to get up and then jump in. Where if you're going to jump in while the punches are being landed so you could make it with conviction that you are stopping the fight. Where it almost looks like if the fighter is getting up, it's almost like you're looking at the fighter to go, oh, he's telling you that this guy had enough, so I'm going to get up. Where the ref says, in the back room, they tell us, fight until we tell you to stop. Not fight until you feel like the fight should be over and then we jump in. This is just the rules. So when you do that, I can see why Ottman is a little upset. Like, no, bro, I told you, I gave you the thumbs up, I'm okay. Even though he was rocked, that position wasn't getting any better for him. Let's be honest. But I think if you're going to make the stop, you got to make it with conviction. You can't go halfway in, halfway out. And I think that's where the problem lies. Other than that, great fight. I'm looking forward to seeing what Francisco can do later on in his young UFC career. And with that being said, sky's the limit, dude. 21 years old. I remember that feeling. I really do. Jung Young Park versus Albert Duraev. Wow. Jokingly, I said, like, this fight might be one of those things where Duraev comes in, controls the position, just kind of hangs out and drags him down, gets him tired, but at a very slow, methodical pace. This was all action. Duraev sat up there and traded with this dude, which I thought was a little crazy. I was like, dude, why are you kind of shying away from your strengths? I don't know if it was like maybe criticism, maybe he wants to make the fight more exciting. Trades with this guy. Lands some really good shots, but Park found a really good home for that jab. Looked like it busted up Duraev's nose a little bit. I think I saw some blood early on. I think that could have been the difference, hurting him early, which led to the eventual finish. When he jumped on that guillotine with like the last 30 seconds, I thought he was done. I was like, this guy Park just committed a guillotine choke with 30 seconds, and it looked like he squeezed everything. I'm like, dude, this is done. Duraev is going to build off of this momentum coming into round two, push the pace early, grapple him, take him down, and he's going to drown him. That's going to be the fight. Park comes out, and it looks like he was just completely reinvigorated, fine. Didn't look like he was worried about it. Looked like he just shook it off. Dude, it was a great fight. It was a really fun fight. One of the better fights of Duraev in terms of excitement and theater. That's what we want to see in a fight. We want theater. When you see one guy just dominate the whole thing, it's kind of like, unless it's a quick domination. But then when there's theater and there's some back and forth, that's what makes the fights exciting. That's why I don't like seeing like one-sided fights where a guy's just getting beat up the entire time. When there's some pushback, that's what it's all about. That's what the fight game's about. I like competitive matchups. I don't like seeing these one-sided blowouts. Who wants to watch that? It's like I'll go watch my older brother beat up his son or something. You know what I mean? It's like, what are we talking about? So to see that, like I said, both of these guys more fun, action-packed fights. Both of them brought it, and for me, I was here for it. That was a really fun fight, and congrats to Park for getting a big win over a guy like Duraev, because he's not an easy out for anybody. We ended up seeing him later that night when we went to Nuka Lounge with Nas celebrating. And it's like one of those things, like whenever someone like loses a tough fight, you never really know what to say. What do you say in those moments? I really don't know. It's always kind of like an awkward thing. You know, it's like I've lost before, and I can take criticism. I can have a conversation afterwards. But then people that you don't really know, and they kind of come up to you and telling you stuff, and I'm like that guy. But he was there, and out of respect, I go over, I say hello. And I say, it's a tough fight, man. Shit happens. Like, you'll bounce back. If anyone knows about bouncing back, it's myself. Being sent to the Shadow Realm for Marlon Moraes and coming back, losing 2 fights in a row, split decision, it's close fights, but still coming back knowing that my job is on the line, on a brand new contract, after making a big commotion about it to the masses, right? I think you guys remember that when I was like, I could make more money being a gym teacher because I'm not being kept busy enough, where I was used to fighting 3 to 5 times in a calendar year. That's what I've done. So then not being kept busy is like, dude, I could have been making more money being a gym teacher. I really could have. like starting salary, $56K, at least 50, depending on the school district I went to in Long Island, with benefits. It's like, what are we talking about, you know? So, yeah, just one of those things. I think Duraev will bounce back. He's a tough dude. He's got that Chechen warrior mindset, and, you know, those are a tough crowd over there. So I can see him bouncing back in a very big way, and I look forward to seeing his return. Other than that, let's move on to our next one. Oh, Norma Dumont. That was actually comedy, and it was cool that Chelsea Chandler was able to kind of have a laugh at herself, seeing all the memes of her running away and hitting the 100-meter dash. Like, I'm out of here. I don't got your money. I don't got your money today. Seeing her just turn and book it was comedy. I thought that was pretty cool. With that being said, it was pretty one-sided, but to see her running like that, I thought it was just funny. Like, you don't ever really see fights. I think every time there's some craziness happening in a fight and I go like, that's the first. And for me, this was the first. Seeing a girl run and dip, and it's like almost like she thought the cage was open and she ran headfirst into the cage and kind of bounced back. It was like, oh, that's not the exit. And Dumont just chasing her down. It kind of reminded me of Spike Carlisle with Billy Q. As Spike Carlisle thinks the fight's over, Billy Q runs up behind him and just, where you going, son? That bell didn't ring yet. We're still in a fist fight. That's pretty much the closest comparison I can kind of get, where someone's turning their back and he's walking away and he gets schooled for that, and then she's running away and she gets caught. It's almost like cops and robbers. Like, come here, where you think you're going? Bring your ass back in here. I thought it was fun. Good fight, competitive fight. But overall, Dumont had her way and gets the best of that grudge match, because I know there was a little shakeup at the weigh-ins, a whole little thing with that. So congrats to her for going out there and getting the job done and getting the dub. Other than that, we got to go to Nazim Sadykhoz versus Terrence McKinney. Dude, McKinney is one of the best guys in the early goings of that first round. Let's see what McKinney is right now. He came into the UFC, his debut against Matt Frivol. Okay, 7-second knockout thing that, you know, he's been kind of riding for quite some time now. But he won, then he lost to Dober, he beat Eric Gonzalez, and then he lost 2 in a row now. So he's, let's see, 1, 2, he's 3-3 in his UFC career right now. And I like to think that he still has some promise. You know, he's got to keep his head up. He's got to keep dedicated and true to the craft. And the truth reveals itself. Who did their homework best? Nas did his homework better that night and got the job done. Got his hand raised in a very big way. After facing some adversity in that first round, let's be honest, he had his back. I don't think any minute or any second it looked like he was going to get submitted. But if McKinney had the gas tank to be able to do that for 3 rounds, that could have been problematic, you know? Didn't do much damage at all there. Didn't really land any strikes from that position, almost 0. Might have threw a couple like baby shots, but Nas did a great job defending. And then I think when Frivol and I started to give him the cues, like, yo, you got to address the body triangle, start to get underneath, make him work his legs. Don't let him just chill in the body triangle. That's what you want to do. When guys are good at the back take, you got to defend, but attack their legs, make them squeeze, make them hold on, make them use and exert a lot of energy. Because when you do that, now you tax them going into the later rounds. Don't let them do those positions for free. And now I even said it, I was like, his legs are going to be shot going into that second round. So as soon as you get that opportunity in the second round, push the pace. And that's what Nas did. And right away, McKinney took the first back step. And you could kind of see that he wanted no parts of the early exchanges on the feet. He shot in. I know they were trying to say like a fence grab. I think there's a difference between a deliberate fence grab and pulling yourself into a position versus when someone does something and you post and naturally, like literally, I'm not making an excuse for Nas, guys. When there's a hole, if there's a wall, a glass, and you put your hand down, there's no way for you to grip. But when there's a hole, naturally, as you push, your fingers are they're going to do this unless you force your hand like this. But as you're pushing on the cage, you're pushing to hold yourself up. You're almost like clawing. I'm not saying clawing to grab. I'm saying you're pushing, and then your fingers are going to go through the holes that are just there. But when you grip, that's different. When you grip and you pull, and perfect example, Melsik Badasarian. Completely different sequence, completely different situations where my man was actually grabbing and pulling himself and making adjustments. That is as blatant as it gets when it comes to a fence grab. Pushing off and holding your position and your fingers going down, if you don't see that they're actually pulling and tugging on the cage, it's not the same. Yeah, you can slap the hand and say something like, make sure you keep them reminded. But there was no jockeying of that position that I saw when I watched it back that you could be like, that helped him get an advantage to defend the takedown and get into that mount position and help him trap Terrence's arm behind his back. Nas did a great job of following the hips. Terrence did a good job of going to butterfly. But then as he went to butterfly, he let Nas advance. And as he advanced, he went for that 2-on-1, the daggy standing handcuff, which is just a wrestling 2-on-1 ride. Hip pressure, flattened him out, got his arm stuck behind his back, and put on the rear naked choke, and that's all she wrote. Huge win for Nas, 2 in a row. 2 finishes in a row. And with that being said, being able to stake his arrival in a big way in the UFC promotion with 2 finishes in a stacked division against someone who had a lot of hype coming in. For good reason, he beat a guy who's now on a 3-fight win streak, all in the first round, knocking people out in Matt Favola. So, a couple things. Nas avenges the loss. Kind of reminds me of myself versus Marlon Moraes and Merab versus Marlon Moraes. He goes out there, he avenges the loss. He beats a big name, a notable name, very popular on social media. And I think that does a lot for his career where he's at now. And I really do look forward to seeing what's going to be coming for Nas next. Because the sky's the limit for this guy. I'm telling you guys, he's super talented. He works hard. And he's willing to put himself in these positions where not a lot of guys are going to train and do things that they don't want to do. And Nas will do that. He will put himself in the line of fire. He will take the wrestling classes. He will put himself in a situation where he needs to wrestle. And that's the difference maker when it comes to becoming a world champion and when it comes to making growth and progress in your career. So congrats to Nas. And thank you all the guys at Nuka Lounge over here in Vegas. Took care of us. Baklava was so good. I probably had too much baklava, and my weight's a little high from that. But it was so good. It was so good. Nas's dad, his family, his friends, Maddie Favola, Nasim, Dennis Bazouki, hopefully soon to be in the UFC later this year, 2023. Merab Dvalishvili, Eric Heyer. Then you have Ray Longo, my fiance, Rebecca Cruz. It was just an overall good experience and a great time, man. And this is what it's all about. Everyone's making money. Everyone's winning. Everyone's working hard. And we get to share these moments with each other. And for me, it was just like, there's no place I'd rather be. And I always say these guys are blessed that they have mentors to kind of help steer the ship and guide them in the kind of the do's and don'ts and kind of directing where they should go with their career, giving advice. Because we didn't really have that coming up. We kind of leaned on each other between myself, Al, and Merab. Like, we have those talks. And we were the ones just kind of figuring it out. And we had our bumps and bruises in the roads with the UFC and things like that. Mostly myself and Al Aiguda. Weidman as well. But we didn't really have anyone to kind of give us guidance and pointers in how to kind of negotiate and handle those situations that should probably be handled behind closed doors. And with that being said, I think that's the most important thing. So I'm just happy and proud of these guys that they can carve out their path the way that they can and have less obstacles in their way. Whether those obstacles they decide to bring that upon themselves, that's their choice. But the fact that they can have these questions answered by us and give guidance, give some advice on some things, I think it goes a very long way. And I think it's helping these guys seeing how to train, seeing how to manage their money, seeing to make sure they don't run into any financial issues with taxes and things like that. All things that can be pitfalls, knowing how to invest, knowing when to buy. It's a beautiful thing because, what good is it if you're the only one that can be successful and enjoy those things by yourself when all your friends and your homies could take part? That's what it's all about, man. It truly is. So I'm happy for these guys. I look forward to seeing what's next for Nasim, what's next for Matt Favola. Hopefully both of these guys could get on that card in November. I would love to be there for that, cheering these guys on and potentially in the corner. We'll see what happens with that. But Very good night for the team. Sarah Longo. Guys, we got Pombo's Gregorio. He's coming up for the Contender Series, I believe, August 12th. And then we got the quiet man, Dylan Montello. He's coming up on the Contender Series, I believe, in September. Stay tuned and locked in for these guys. Big opportunities for these guys to also join the long list of Long Island fighters from such a small place, Long Island, Strong Island, to get to the UFC and carve out their own path and their own destiny. And that's what I'm most proud about. I'm excited for these guys. And again, I know they're back home training hard. I can't wait to come back home, finish camp, see all these guys, get some work in with these guys, feel that Long Island energy as I get ready to go to Boston and hopefully retain the belt once again and show why we are the best team in the world, because we work the hardest, we work the smartest, and that's what it's all about, man. That's just what it's all about. Other than that, let's move on. I think any other notable fights to talk about? Oh, this kid, Mesquizel Costa, who trains with Brito. He trains with that other 45-pounder Brito. Fun to watch. Super loose on his feet. Slick. Great striking. Funny story with his teammate Brito. We were in the locker room. He asked me for a picture. And then after, it almost felt like he was like sizing me up, asking me like how much I weigh, and he had his translator guy there, and it kind of got a little awkward. I was like, I'm confused. Like, are you hearing that I'm coming up to 145, and that's why you're asking me like my size and my weight? It was very weird. I don't know. I like the guy. I think he's very fun to watch. With that being said, it was just very awkward. Yeah. But other than that, he's a cool dude. I like the guy. And I don't have any bad things I can say about the dude. I like watching him. He's aggressive. His fight style is fun. He brings up an intensity like not many other guys can do. And he's got a great teammate in Costa. And I look forward to seeing what both these guys do with their careers, because, man, maybe they're the next Aljamain Sterling and Merab Dvalishvili at 145. These guys are both hammers. They both put in really, really good work, it seems like, and they're fun fighters to watch, and they're dangerous. He had a really good fight against Austin Lingo, and I look forward to seeing what he does at this 145-pound division, because I know his debut was at 155 on short notice, so we'll see. Guys, there was a lot of really good fights. Melsik Bagdasaryan, very fun fighter to watch. I just think a lot of the cheap things that kind of come off, it almost dampers his performances and makes him look like he's a dirty fighter. I'm not saying he's a dirty fighter, but guys, come on. How many times can you grab the cage without the ref saying something, not taking a point, poking the eyes, super dick punch into a head kick? It's just there was just a lot of things in that fight, and that's not the only fight. There's been other fights in the past where he's had things similar that has happened where it's like, dude, there's kind of a trend here. But again, fun fighter to watch. Dangerous southpaw. That left body kick is Melsik, when he puts together those combinations, explosive, powerful, dangerous, and he does a good job of sliding backwards, throwing that check hook and shooting that left cross down the pipe. Even his right kick, very tricky. He'll come with kind of like a crescent kick, which could be tricky to see and will catch you off guard coming on the inside, where it looks like he might go to the body with the teep, and he's coming up top to the face with that. Very dangerous fighter, skilled. Again, I just think, I just hate to see people bag on him about that, but he also has to make those corrections. I mean, maybe he doesn't even give a shit. I don't know. But I do think there's something to be said about that, and I think it kind of takes away from what he's doing in the octagon and all his other fights if he keeps having situations like that happening in almost every single fight. I mean, how many times could there be smoke and no fire? You know what I mean? So, yeah. Other good fights, notable fights. Boom, boom. Evan Elder coming back after losing to Nazim in a big way over Gennaro Valdez, who now loses what I think is 3 in a row. Yeah, finished decision. Great fight from Valdez. I think he needed to tighten up that defense. But Evan Elder, I think, man, he showed that he was definitely the more skilled fighter in there, getting the job done. Tyson having a really close fight with this new guy who's now 17-0. I thought he could have put together more combinations. And with that being said, I I don't know what's next for Tyson because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a couple in a row. I know he's a little bit older, and the older side I was pulling for him. He's 39 years old. Sheesh. But he lost his last two, split decision. His last one to Bruno Silva by rear naked choke. And before that, he beat Ode Osborne, one of my guys. And before that, he lost to Matt Schnell by split decision. And before that, he won 2 in a row. So it's kind of up and down. And after that, he beat Kai Kara-France. Well, he lost to Kai Kara-France and Sergio Pettis, both by decision. So, yeah. Good fighter. Fun to watch. But there's only so many of those that the UFC will continuously allow you to get before they give you the axe. Hopefully, we get to see Tyson there one more time. And hopefully, he could get a big win in a big way. Couple of things else that we want to talk about outside of this. Boom, boom. Okay, let's talk about it. Chito versus Pedro Munoz added to UFC Boston. I think that is a fun fight. And obviously, there should have been a rematch with Chito and Sean or Sean and Chito. None of those happened. Not one. So here we are in a situation. We have a very particular situation, guys. This thing is very, very interesting how it's been drawn up to be like this, you know? I think you got the leg kicks, but you got the range of Chito. He's 5'8". I thought he was 5'11" for some reason, but he's 5'8", a little bit taller than myself. He's got a good reach. This makes this fight very interesting. Can the slow start of Chito be detrimental to him against Pedro? Will Pedro be patient the same way he was against Sean O'Malley coming into that fight? What is Pedro's approach? Was Pedro training this entire time? Will the short notice affect him? Other than that, I think it's a great fight. Obviously, Chito lost to Sandhagen. Sandhagen's not fighting Umar Nurmagomedov. If anything, Umar should have been fighting Chito, and Sandhagen could have been fighting maybe Pedro. I think that was a way more sensible matchup in terms of where everyone is at, or give Sandhagen Sean O'Malley. But guys, this is where we're at. This division is just stacked. We got a lot of options right now. With that being said, I can see Chito using his length, using those teeps, those front kicks. He has those tricky crescent kicks to the face as well, kind of like Melsik Badassarian uses as well. I'm interested to see how long this one is going to go. I think people were writing off Pedro, but Pedro has shown a lot of durability, especially in his last fight, beating Chris Gutierrez and showing that he's still got some pop. He dropped him in that fight, and he's a taller dude, lanky, long, rangy kicker. It's going to be interesting to see how this one goes, man. If Chito, I don't think Chito's going to shoot, but if Pedro hits the floor, he can go for leg locks. We know Pedro, if anyone shoots or they tie up, they come in and they crouch up and they cover up, we know Pedro's willing to jump on your neck and jump for that guillotine, and we know he has a tight squeeze. Whenever he gets guys there, it just seems like he gets everyone. Once he gets on your neck and he locks his hands, for the most part, he finishes. So it's going to be interesting to see what his approach is going to be against a longer rangier guy. He fought myself, who was longer and rangier. He fought Chris Gutierrez, longer and rangier. He fought Dominic Cruz, longer and rangier. And he's had some mixed results. And, of course, Sean O'Malley, longer and rangier. And he had different approaches with each one of these fights. So I'm looking forward to seeing if he can still show that he is one of the guys who can still make a run at the title, even at his age. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's going to be a very interesting fight to see what his approach is going to be against Chito. Chito's got to get off the gas. He's got to get on the gas early. Can't be letting Pedro come in there and dictating the pace of the fight right out of the gate. But it's a great addition to the card. I'm looking forward to having both these guys in Boston. Makes up for Chito not being able to fight Henry. I don't know what Henry's doing now. I know he's saying he's going to need like 3 months to recover. Honestly, I think it was more of a cop-out. I think he had no real intention of actually fighting in Boston. I think it was just more of a gimmicky thing and for show to prove like he's this badass dude. Weird. But other than that, I do look forward to seeing Henry in his next fight and having him on the card with us. It's going to be good, man. This Pedro, he's got good name value. Chito's got really good name value. Of course, there's a lot of theatrics because if Sean loses to me and Chito wins, rematch, right? I think there's a very sensible rematch right there. We'll see. And then you got Henry and you got Marab and then you got Umar versus Sandhagen. Winner of that. There's so many possibilities at this weight class. I really don't know which way it's going to go. And that's why I'm excited for these next few weeks to see what's going to happen. I might possibly go to Nashville to see that fight live with Sandhagen and Umar. And then you got Ode, who's fighting. I want to watch that as well. And we might have the return of Pumi Nakuda in Tennessee. So I might be down near the corner, your boy, making his long-waited return and see how that goes. And then from there, quick business trip. Might as well go there, see the fight, promote my fight happening a couple weeks later, and then finish up camp strong. And that would be a great training camp to seal everything off going into Boston. Now, the next thing I want to talk about was obviously Jamahal Hill. I'm gutted for him. I was really, really looking forward to his return. I'm not sure if he disclosed how he injured his leg, but it's very unfortunate, man. I was really looking forward to seeing him do great things, man. We've been able to connect and kind of have a little bit of a bond and hang out with each other, teach each other some things. And I was really looking forward to just seeing him get out there and get his shine, man. I just found out he's also of Jamaican descent. So how cool is that? It would have been really dope to have him out there, but, you know, sometimes things aren't in the card, you know. And I'm hoping he has a speedy recovery. The Achilles is not a thing to play with. Yeah, I'm gutted for the guy, man. I really am. So hopefully it's a strong recovery. He gets to as close to 100% as possible. I'm shocked that they're making him relieve the belt. Normally, the rule of thumb is, and they've told me this, you have to defend the belt within a year. I know it's going to be past a year, but that's not because of him. That's because of Jerry needing the surgery. They could have put someone else in there, but they wanted to wait for the Jerry fight, from what I understand. This is what I've been told. So if they're going to wait for Jerry, who was injured, why is Jamahal Hill being penalized and now needing to be stripped of his belt? Because of another man who was injured, who he was supposed to fight to unify. And not really unify because he gave up the belt and it's kind of a similar... It's just weird, this whole thing. It's like, so do we get the time off or do we not get the time off within a year? Which one is it? I don't know. I'm just a guy with a microphone in my hands. But seriously, I do hope Jamal makes a full recovery. I'm really looking forward to his return, and I hope they honor his pay-per-view points whenever he does come back. And let that man get paid, man. He earned his due. He fought a very tough Glover Teixeira, weathered the early storm, and got the job done. People could say whatever they want about Glover's age. Glover was beating guys down at that age, won the belt at that age. So what does that say about everybody else? You can't crap on the man who beat the man. You know what I mean? It's just weird. Other than that, let's move on. Francis Ngannou getting that bag against Tyson Fury. Ooh, I love this. I love this for Francis, man. Everything he stood for, held out for, losing out on time, he's getting it all back, and it's all coming back full circle. We've never seen a thing like this happen with a fighter leaving the UFC in a situation like that. That sets a whole new precedent. And I think it's cool. I think it shows that sometimes it's cool to bet on yourself. You know, UFC is typically the biggest show in town. That can never be disputed. So for someone to say, I'm not going to take the bird in hand, I'm going to try to take the 2, in Francis' case, maybe the 8 or 10 in the bush, and take all those bags back home to try to eat, that's a wild gamble. And I like to say he won. He won in the sense of betting on himself. It's not a competition now, so I'm not by any way saying that, it's a competition with the UFC. I'm saying he won in the sense of he did what was best for him, and it worked out to his advantage. And I'm happy for the guy, man. How can you not be happy for a guy like that, who a lot of people were kind of calling him stupid and calling him all these names and saying that, his legacy this, legacy that. Guys, this is prize fighting. We're here to fight for the prize. He just got the prize, the biggest prize that you could possibly get. Let that man eat. You can say whatever you want about the fight. I'm tuning in to watch that because I know Ngannou's got this freakish power, and if he touches that chin, he's prominently a boxer, right? He ain't a grappler, guys. He ain't a kickboxer. But we all know Francis Ngannou, he can punch, and if he connects, that is as Deontay Wilder-esque as it gets. Might not be as clean, but Deontay, everyone always said he was wild style. Now you got Francis Ngannou, who's a bigger man than Deontay. Might not be the most technical boxer, but give him time to train for this fight, put the time in, punch his chance, that body weight. If he could connect one time, even if he just swarms with these bungalow punches, guys, I'm here for it. I'm watching it. Let that man get paid. I'm glad they were able to help him and secure his legacy for himself and his future. Dude, congrats to Francis Ngannou, man. That's what it's all about. Super proud of him. Super happy for him. And I look forward to seeing what this fight is going to look like for him in the future. And nothing but love and the best for him, you know? What do we got? So that's my thoughts on that fight, at least. I know it's not going to be easy. I mean, the Gypsy King is one of the best for a reason. So I look forward to seeing how this one shakes out. I think we kind of all have this idea that Francis is probably going to get killed. But again, that puncher's chance, that shit is scary. I mean, we've seen Deontay Wilder almost decapitate and look like he just rose from the dead against Tyson Fury. So maybe that happens again, and maybe this time he doesn't get up. And I'm a Tyson Fury fan, but I'm also a Francis Ngannou fan. And what I'm just saying is it's an exciting fight for all the right reasons, and it couldn't have happened at a better time. And I look forward to watching it just because of those reasons. Guys, make sure you tune in and support the Francis Ngannou movement. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. What else we got? I think that's pretty much it. So let's get into these fan questions. I got a bunch of questions on Twitter that I said I was going to answer. Let me refresh this. See what we got. Damn, we got a lot. So I'm going to like these, and then Jake is going to help and put these questions on the screen. Okay. Who is your most underrated opponent? My most underrated opponent. Honestly, I'm stuck between two people. Pedro Munoz and Sean O'Malley. Obviously, I haven't fought Sean yet, but I think a lot of people are writing him off and underestimating him, but I'm not doing that. I think a lot of people did that against the Petr Yan fight, but he showed styles make fights, and he showed that he's not just a clown guy with this colorful hair. He showed that he can scrap. He showed that he's here to scrap, and I appreciate that. And for me, that's why it's between those two guys. Kenny L, will you go up for double champ status? 100%. Let me get through Sean O'Malley. If I can get through him the way that I think that I will, and again, I'm not looking past this guy. I just want to make sure I can expose him for the fraud of a poster boy that I think that he is, getting all the easiest layups and handouts that he possibly could have gotten on his way to a UFC title shot. I just want to be able to get through him. And if I do the way that I think that I will and can, I think it's a very good shot that I could possibly be fighting Volkanovski next. I know they did a whole promo with Ilia Topuria, but once Aljamain Sterling inserts himself into that conversation, I think they're going to have an honest discussion about what they really want to do next. And I'm excited to put my name in that hat. Who has more Riz, you or Sugar Sean? I think I'm one of the... Riz is so weird for me. I don't even know where that word came from. But who has more Riz? Come on, man. Is that even like... I think Sean is probably one of the ugliest guys out there. It has to be. You know, I could say a guy's good looking. Sean is an ugly dude, bro. That's just my take. So that's where I stand on that. Sean is ugly. He's not the most handsome looking motherfucker out there. So with that being said, I'm saying I got more Riz than Sean. And Riz and looks don't have anything to do with each other. I just don't think Sean's that guy who's got a lot of game. You know, I think if we were to see who got a little more G, just saying, you know, I think I got a little more swag than he does. I like this one. Can you go into detail on your back control tactics, details on finishing the rear naked choke, and how you worked on developing your game from the back? Honestly, for me, it's just been drilling over and over and over. I will admit I have gotten away from that the longer I have been out here in Vegas, because I've been more focused on my ground and pound and my control. So with that being said, I do a lot of med ball squeezes. I do a lot of foam roller squeezes. just to kind of get that isometric hold, that isometric feel, what it's going to be like to have to squeeze for that long of a period and then turn it over to be able to train that type of gas tank for the fight. Because, again, I get in these positions. I'm not going to always finish everybody. These guys are going to be doing their homework. They're going to be holding on for dear life, not trying to go to sleep. They don't want to get embarrassed. So I got to make sure I do my part and making sure that my endurance is up to par so I can keep that threshold high. So that's one of the things that I do. One of the techniques I use is kind of like when you go cross-body, always keeping the underhook side. I like to finish on the underhook side, keeping my head underneath my opponent's head and not letting their head get to the mat because that's their escape. So if I can keep their head like above mine while I also keep that underhook on that bottom side, it makes it a little bit more easier for me to control them in those positions. Do you still think Cody Stamann beat Sean O'Malley like we talked about roughly a year and a half ago? Honestly, I don't know. Sean has shown a lot of improvement. Stamann have shown that he's kind of like, I don't know, kind of, And with that being said, it makes it a little bit of a difficult thing to kind of say. So I don't know. I think it would be a good fight. I think Cody's a gamer, but the guys he's beaten recently are kind of over the hill. That Brazilian guy he faced, very good matchup, but he had a tough time with him. And then that guy just fought Dumont Blackshear, and Dumont kind of schooled him a little bit. I mean, it was competitive in like the first few early goings of round one, but then he kind of schooled him. So there's a lot of good guys in this weight class. And I think with that being said, I think Cody can give him a run. But I think it would be a lot more competitive than what I thought it would have been the year and a half ago that we spoke. How many inches? Well, there's only one way to find out. Ask my fiance. Come on, man. What kind of question is that? Okay, how good do you think RBY would be in MMA? Be at an MMA. I think RBY, he's a little bit small for 125, but I think he can make a very good run. I think just with his wrestling alone, as long as he can avoid big damage, keep his chin intact, I think that's the main question. What's his durability like? If he were to get punched, how does he handle that? How does he recover if he gets hit? Can he maintain his composure and still look to press to get the takedown? And that's kind of what the same field that Bo Nickel's in. And I think that's the difference. So with that being said, time will tell. And I do hope after he makes this Olympic run that he does come over to MMA and test the waters a little bit, even if it's just for a few fights, because I think he can make some really good money. I think he'd be a fun addition to the 125-pound pool, and it would be fun to just watch his career. Because I'm a big wrestling fan. I think he's very skilled and very talented. How many more fights do you realistically see yourself in the game? Wow. That one cuts deep because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And I don't know, man. I've been taking this one fight at a time. I think I'm at that age where, I've made enough money. The motivation is still money and making my safety egg of when I retire, that my interests will pay my salary monthly of what I would like to comfortably live off of while doing other things like podcasting, maybe coaching on the side, maybe being a school teacher, or who knows, maybe being an analyst for the UFC or ESPN or something like that. I think there's a lot of opportunities that I have on the table. And then I got my rum company that's coming out. I should have a bottle in hand hopefully by August 9th or August 10th. Looking forward to showing the world and revealing that. And that could be my next big venture. And potentially getting into the restaurant business and kind of like a restaurant/lounge. I've always wanted to have my own place, a vibe, something in Long Island, so we don't always have to go to New York City to party. I want to have something that could be open till 4 a.m. that's close enough to the city, where it's like you could take the train, go to the city, you could start here pregame, and if you don't want to go all the way to the city, you could still have a good time, good music, good vibes, good talent coming through the doors, and have that right here in Long Island. Well, I'm in Vegas, but right in Long Island. That's something else that's on my bucket list of things to do. So if there's any investors out there that are looking to get into that venture, I'm looking for good people to work with, so we'll see. So to answer your question, I'm taking one fight at a time, but I do think I have at least 5 more wins in me to hit that 20-win club for the UFC, so I could be like, okay, I made the 20-win club something that's really hard to do, and I can live with that. And I've made, like I said, I made enough money. Everything else is just about securing my legacy and then having fun fights with people that I've looked up to or I just think would be fun for my career to have, and we'll see where everything goes from there. Okay, let's see. What is your favorite non-practical grappling submission technique for practice? For example, buggy choke, ninja choke, barato plata. My favorite one, non-practical, is probably the gogo plata and the ninja choke. But the ninja choke, we just saw that Bueno Silva hit that. But I think, actually the calf slicer. I just got some things I want to start drilling this week. Thank you for this question. I appreciate that. Calf slicer, ninja choke, gogo plata. Those 3 things, I haven't really been hitting them a lot lately, but I look forward to doing it. The ninja choke, actually, I did hit that in the recent past weeks, but those are like my favorite things that are not the most common that we see in MMA, but really cool chokes to get. Buggy choke is not my thing. I feel like it's just kind of a silly thing to do that only really like tall, lanky people can kind of get away with. I'm lanky, but not really at the same time. Boom, 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 boom. Cheesecake or ice cream cake? Ice cream cake, 100%. I'm not a cheesecake guy at all. Thoughts on who Merab should fight for the title after you vacate to move up? My thoughts, I'm going to say I think Merab should fight the winner of Umar versus Sandhagen. I think that is the fight to make. I think that makes the most sense. And then insert Henry Cejudo if he's serious about coming back. I think you could also make Henry Cejudo versus Merab Dvalishvili right away as well. We'll see. Prime Dominic Cruz versus you now. Who wins and how? That is a very fun fight and a very good question. I think it'd be very interesting to see how that one goes and plays out. You know, I always bet on myself. I think I've studied him well enough and long enough that I have a good read on what he does. I mimic a lot of my style from him, and it's cool to like have these past few sparring sessions where he's been able to, not past few, this one sparring session and him coming down to train with me and give me some input and some insight that some of the things that he sees. And 1 second, let me grab my charger. Yeah, so for him to give me a couple things to think about while I'm competing and while I'm training, he's been very, very good in that regard, and I appreciate that because it's cool to have the upperclassmen pass down some knowledge to the younger guys. And I'm a upperclassman now as well. I would say Dom's like the senior, I'm like the junior. I'm on my way to graduating soon, and Dom's on his way. You know, he's got a couple more good fights in him, fun fights hopefully, and maybe it'll be the last that we get to see of him. You know, and he's been a guy that we've seen for a very, very long time. Favorite episode of Power from any OG Power or Ghost or Raising Cane? Favorite episode? I can't remember a favorite episode. There's so many good ones. But I would say my favorite one to watch so far, outside of the original, has been Force, because I really love Tommy. Tommy's such a fun, crazy character. And what's better than that? He just brings a different energy and dynamic to the game. And that's what makes it fun to watch Power when you watch Tommy. Since you'll be moving up to featherweight, who are some fighters you look forward to facing besides Volk? I mean, there's some good matchups, man. Let's plant the seed. Like, obviously, I've trained with Max Holloway, but that would be a fun fight. You know, not one I'm like gunning for. Like, yeah, I definitely can't wait to fight Max. In the sense of like, when I feel like when you know someone and you kind of train with them, it makes it a little bit weird. But if it had to happen, that would be a fun fight. Arnold Allen would be a crazy fight to have as well. He's a dog. Of course, you got Calvin Kattar, Northeast guy from Boston as well. Heavy hands. Crazy elbows, big puncher. He's a big framed guy. I do wonder how I would do against a guy with that size and that length. I mean, of course, you got Ilya Topuria. He's there as well. I know that would be a tough one for Merab to kind of sit through. That would be a really tough one for both of us. I think it would be a really tough fight for both Ilya and myself. So, yeah, there's a lot of good fights, man. There's a lot of good guys at 145. Like I said, I mentioned the Costa kid. I mentioned the Brito kid. Those aren't fights that would happen right out of the gate. But I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of talent there, man, that's starting to shine through outside of Volk. And I think me jumping into that division will really mix things up and make some interesting fights to come. Is there any scenario in the world where you would ever consider a fight with Merab? Nah, guys, there's no scenario in the world. And I know I said like they would have to pay us something both stupid money for us to both be like, this is money that can set us up for the rest of our lives, which is so absurd that I just know it would never happen. So yeah, it's just like saying, yeah, I know this fight is never gonna happen because I know they would never do such a thing. So yeah, I don't think there's any scenario where I could see myself fighting Merab. I think it's just too close to home. I just can't see it. I really can't. Exactly how much did you make in your last fight? I'm not telling because I'm going to get myself in trouble, and I'm not doing that anymore. Boom, 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 boom. Do you think you could take out 100 rats in a fight, mate? Probably not. I'm going to be stomping and kicking for my life because rats, they will chew through your skin and get to that bone, dog. That is a scary death. I'm fighting for my life. I'll tell you that much. Dye your hair like Sean O'Malley or go bald. Red pill or blue pill. I like this one. I dye my hair like Sean. It's not a bad look. It's not terrible. I make fun of the guy, give him shit, but it's not that bad. When did you finally realize Steamroller would chin you? When he hit me one time in the training room, and I said, I'll never let this guy hit me again. And from there, I don't think I've ever really let him hit me cleanly on the chin ever again. Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. How long can Merab hold his breath? I'm going to say Merab could probably hold his breath. I've seen him at stadium swim the length from one side all the way down, cold turkey, no warm-up, nothing. Just say, hey, guys, take my camera. Took his shirt off, boom, and just jumped one end all the way to the other end, one breath. Absolute freak of nature, guys. I'll say Merab could hold his breath for probably 10 minutes if he wanted to. I like this one. Pick two fighters that you believe will become champion and defend their title at least once by 2025. Two new fighters. Oh, wow. I'm going to say Merab. That's one. 2025. Who else can jump into that ascension to fight for the belt and then defend the belt? And then you got Shavkat and Hamzat. Very likely possibilities that those guys can win the belt and defend the belt by 2025. I think those are some good ones right there. How long did it take for you to feel confident in your striking after getting into MMA, coming from a wrestling background? Wow. I always felt comfortable with my striking in the gym, but I never felt comfortable with my striking in the fight yet because of the small gloves. We would always use the boxing gloves, and then we started to move towards the 7-ounce gloves. And then to get comfortable going from boxing, okay, less protection now. We're going to hit each other with the 7-ounce gloves. And then you go from that to the 4-ounce gloves, where it's like even less protection. Understanding what your chin is really like when you get cracked with one of those is significantly different than getting hit with the 7-ounce gloves. Those puffies, the extra 3 ounces makes a big difference, man. When you hit with those 4-ounce gloves, it's literally, it feels like bare knuckle outside of the actual knuckle hitting your skin. But you get that full impact and thud as if it was a bare fist hitting your face. I think when I got the most comfortable I ever been was the Pedro Munoz fight, because I always said going into that fight, it's like, this guy thinks I'm a bitch, and I'm going to show him in the world that ain't nobody going to punk me in this octagon. Never going to get punked in this octagon. And he thought he was going to have me running. You could say I used my footwork and you ran the whole time. Okay. Dude, the objective is to hit you more than you hit me. I stood in the pocket with him a couple times, traded with him a couple times, stood in the pocket with Jimmy Rivera, a big power puncher. So, guys, it's one of those things. It takes time. I'm a grappler by trade, but I do think now I've gotten so much more comfortable with my striking. I've been sparring a lot with Javid and Farid, the Bashar brothers, as well as Julian Erosa, who has a much longer reach than Sean O'Malley, and he's taller. And to be able to touch him gives me a better sense of confidence coming into this fight with Sean. So yeah, that's when I would say I start to get really confident with my striking was against Pedro Munoz. I know I said last one, but let's do one more. Okay. What's Sugar's number one concerns to you? Like, is there anything that he has going on that you fear? Nah, I'm going to say there's nothing that I fear. it's something that's a concern where I'm like, I don't want him to stick in the fight by having success with the things that he's good at. His footwork, his feints. So we're having guys use their footwork. We're having guys use their feints. We're having guys throw those front kicks, throw those head kicks, having guys do the fake spins and throwing the spins and implementing that from both sides. Going southpaw, doing the basketball thing and giving me those looks so that I can feel comfortable when I'm out there against him, because I have to make sure that I get those looks. I have to make sure I get those reads. When I fought Henry Cejudo, I truly felt like I didn't get a realistic look on some of the hip feints and things that he was doing, which made me a little bit more tentative to want to pull the trigger, because I just didn't know what was coming back my way and the explosiveness that he had, because he was smaller, compact, bouncier, and was able to kind of dart in and out, made it a little bit tricky. So going into this, I have made sure that we've gotten those looks, and we've got a couple more things that we want to work on this week as well, and keep on fine-tuning things and training the eyes to recognize patterns. Even if it's not patterns, just recognize motions that we see him move a certain way. We know kind of what's coming. And this way, this is going to kind of put us in the driver's seat a little bit more so that we can put Sean on his heels. Because let's be honest, if Sean goes forward, his chances of going forward, I think, I don't want to give away too much. Let's just say I want to put him on his heels. And if he goes forward, let's just say I got something that's probably even better if he goes forward. That's just my personal opinion. He might have something for that. But I think him coming forward leads to his demise a little bit sooner. I think his best chances are probably playing Matador, and I'm going to leave it at that. Other than that, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all your questions. I'm going to make sure we show you guys the screen name on the page. Jake, I'm going to screenshot these so you can have them. Other than that, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you like my shit, subscribe to my shit. Or spin it back this, baby. I see you guys soon. Peace.